Hello there, and welcome to the sleepy sky. The day has unfolded in its own slow pattern, full of thoughts and movement, full of small demands that asked for your attention. Now it leans back toward evening, and the edges of everything grow softer. Whatever you have carried through these hours can begin to loosen, the way a landscape loosens as light fades. You have stepped into a gentler space for a while, a space where nothing needs to be hurried or held too tightly. This is a time for your mind to settle, for your body to remember calm. The world outside responds to this fading light as well, even when it seems still. As the sun slips lower, temperatures fall by quiet degrees, and the living systems of the earth adjust in answer. Many processes slow after sunset, from the opening and closing of leaf pores to the drift of small nighttime winds. Nature draws its own long breath, conserving energy, protecting moisture, letting activity ease. The same softness that touches the sky moves through forests and fields, through water and stone. That same softness moves through forests and fields, through water and stone, and it can move through you too. You're allowed to follow this downward curve, to let your thoughts glide from sharp focus into gentle blur. There is nothing you must solve tonight. There is nowhere you need to be except here, in this moment, listening as the night gathers around you like a warm and quiet blanket. It is completely all right to rest. Imagine a wide valley at dusk, the sky washed in muted blue and pale rose, the air cooling in a slow and steady hush. A few last birds cross overhead, their wings drawing faint lines against the fading light. The sound of the day thins, as if someone were gently turning down its volume. Grass darkens into shadow. Distant hills soften at the edges. The valley grows quiet, yet it does not feel empty. It feels full of something gentle and calm. Full of something gentle and calm, the valley becomes a kind of mirror for your own inner landscape. Inside you, thoughts that once rushed now begin to drift. They do not vanish. They simply move more slowly, like leaves floating on a still pond. The rhythms of your body respond to the suggestion of quiet, guided by the same physics that cool the air and lower the winds. You can let yourself lean toward that quiet without resistance. It is safe to soften. Across the earth, plants respond to this change in light in ways that are soft and precise. During the day, tiny openings on leaves, called stomata, allow gases to move in and out, trading carbon dioxide for oxygen, trading water vapor for air. After sunset, many of these openings begin to close or narrow, reducing the loss of water, easing the plant into a slower state. The chemistry inside the leaf shifts into night mode, calmer and more careful. It is as if each plant whispers to itself, "Conserve now. Rest now." Conserve now, rest now, the plants seem to say, and those words can become a quiet suggestion for you as well. You do not need to give energy to every thought that passes through. You do not need to keep every worry alive. Just as a leaf closes its tiny doors, you can close the door on the day for a while. Let the concerns that usually flow through you pause outside, waiting patiently until morning, when you are ready again. Your attention can stay here, in this gentle lane of sound and breath. In forests, the change is almost musical. As light thins beneath the canopy, photosynthesis slows, and the rush of sugars through stems and veins eases into a softer tempo. The air cools by a few quiet degrees, and that cooler air, heavier now, begins to slide down the slopes into hollows and low places. Valleys fill with this slow-moving breath, a pooling of night air that settles close to the ground. The forest floor, with its layers of needles and leaves, releases a faint scent of earth and resin as it cools. That faint scent of earth and resin drifts through the undergrowth, and small sounds join it in the background. A twig adjusts as wood contracts. Bark gives a soft crackle as the tree trunks release the heat they held through the day. Insects trade bright. Daytime buzzes for lower, steadier hums. Every part of this world seems to agree that it is time to go slower. You can join that agreement. You can let a slower rhythm be enough. Flower meadows change their posture too. Some blossoms close their petals for the night, folding inward to protect delicate structures from cooling air and dew. Others loosen and open, releasing scents that travel farther in the still darkness than they could in the busy air of day. Moths and other nighttime visitors follow those scents, tracing invisible trails across the field. Life does not stop here. It simply slips into a different gear, a gentler mode. It simply slips into a different gear, a gentler mode. And that is the invitation the night offers you. You do not have to stop thinking or feeling. You're simply allowed to think more slowly, to feel more softly. Let your breathing become like those opening and closing petals, expanding and relaxing with no effort at all. With each breath, your body understands a little more that rest is welcome. With each breath, you sink a little deeper into ease. Down in low-lying places, cool air continues to gather. This happens because cooler air is denser than warm air, so it sinks toward valleys and hollows, flowing along the ground like a very slow, invisible river. The result is a gentle layering of temperatures across the landscape. Hilltops keep a bit more of the day's warmth. Valleys become quiet bowls of cooler air. To stand there at night is to feel a tender chill rising from the soil, meeting the warmth that still lingers in your skin. A tender chill rising from the soil carries its own kind of calm. It draws your awareness down toward your feet, toward the ground that holds you. The earth has been supporting you all day without asking for thanks. Now, as the air cools, that support feels even more steady, even more kind. You're held between the sky and the soil, between fading light and deepening dark, and in that in-between space it is perfectly fine to let go of what feels heavy. Across fields and gardens, the scent of damp soil becomes more noticeable as the night deepens. Moisture near the surface condenses into tiny droplets on blades of grass and leaves, forming dew. This dew returns precious water to plants, especially in dry regions. When nighttime condensation can make the difference between stress and comfort. What evaporated in the warmth of day comes back in the gentler hours, completing a quiet cycle of loss and return. Completing a quiet cycle of loss and return, the dew reminds you that what leaves often finds a way back in another form. Energy spent during the day can return as calm at night. Effort can return as ease. This is one of nature's softer facts, almost shy in its simplicity. When you allow yourself to rest, you are not wasting time. You're recovering it in a different shape, so that tomorrow can grow from a deeper well. Even the soundscape of the world changes after sunset. During the day, many birds and insects fill the air with bursts of song and movement. At night, those bright sounds fade, replaced by lower, steadier notes. A distant owl may call from the edge of a wood. Crickets may take up their measured rhythm in the grass. Their patterns are regular, almost like breathing written into the dark. The world turns from chatter to murmur, from clatter to hush. From clatter to hush, the atmosphere around you becomes more suited to letting thoughts untangle. The mind often mirrors the environment it senses. In bright, noisy places, it scurries quickly from one thing to another. In soft, quiet spaces, it can finally sit still. You're in a soft, quiet space now. Even if the physical room is not perfectly silent, you have stepped into a deeper layer of quiet inside yourself. That inner quiet is yours to keep. Within your own body, gentle night mechanisms are unfolding as well. As darkness lingers, certain cells in your brain respond to the lower light by signaling for the release of melatonin, a hormone that supports sleep. Your core temperature begins to drop slightly, helping muscles relax and slowing your internal pace. The rhythm of your heart eases, the pattern of your breathing lengthens, your entire physiology tilts toward rest when night comes, just as faithfully as forests and fields. Just as faithfully as forests and fields, your body follows these ancient patterns without needing your instruction. You do not have to tell your temperature to fall or your hormones to rise. You're carried on a current of biology that has been flowing since long before your day began. Trusting that current can feel like floating on a calm lake at night, the water cool and smooth, the stars a soft scatter above. You can allow yourself to be carried. It is gentle to remember that almost every creature shares some version of this shift. Birds tuck their heads under warm feathers. Small mammals curl into hidden spaces lined with dry leaves or soft fur. Fish sink into quieter layers of water. Insects slip into crevices beneath bark and stone. Each living being finds a place where it can release a portion of its alertness, where it can be less guarded for a time. Night becomes a shared agreement to slow down. Night becomes a shared agreement to slow down, and you are included in that agreement. You are not outside of nature, looking in from a distance. You are part of this wide, breathing system, with the nervous system and heart and lungs tuned to the same cycles that move leaves and winds. Let that belonging comfort you. You are not alone in resting. The entire living world around you is resting in its own way. In cities and villages, nature's nighttime shift still happens, just woven through human patterns. Street trees draw slower breath through their leaves. Small moths circle porch lights with patient loops. Air between buildings cools and settles, creating calm pockets where a single leaf's movement is enough to catch your eye. The natural world never disappears, even in places built of stone and glass. It simply lowers its voice, waiting for you to notice. It simply lowers its voice, waiting for you to notice, and now you are noticing. You're paying attention to the way darkness does not mean absence, but a different kind of presence. A presence that asks less of you. A presence that offers you room to rest. You can let this awareness sink through you like cool air sinking into a valley. You can let your muscles release a little more, your jaw soften, your shoulders ease downward. Deep within every ecosystem there are cycles that specifically favor the night. Some plants use a special rhythm called CAM photosynthesis, opening their stomata mainly after dark to take in carbon dioxide while losing less water. Certain animals, like bats and many insects, have evolved to thrive when the sun is gone, avoiding competition and heat. Microorganisms in soil work constantly, but temperature and moisture changes at night often alter which groups are most active. The whole planet is quietly rearranging its activity by the clock of light and dark. quietly rearranging its activity by the clock of light and dark. The earth shows you that rest is never wasted. It is part of an ongoing pattern, a necessary half of the cycle. You are part of that pattern. Your need for sleep is not separate from nature's design. It sits right inside it, as natural and expected as evening dew or closing flowers. Let that knowledge be a comfort. You're not falling behind when you rest. You are falling into place. In the softened hours of night, there is a kind of honesty that feels different from the bright clarity of day. Without strong sunlight, colours shift into greys and deep blues, details blur, edges melt slightly into one another. The world becomes less about sharp outlines and more about subtle contrasts. In that blur, you can stop defining yourself so tightly by tasks and roles. You can simply be a breathing, resting organism under a wide and quiet sky. Under a wide and quiet sky, life becomes more at ease. This is true for forests and fields, for rivers and gardens, and for you as well. You are sharing this night with plants that are conserving, with animals that are nesting or gently moving, with winds that are slowing, with soil that is drinking in dew. All of nature is leaning into rest. You are in good company. From this gentle beginning, carried by these quiet facts and soft images, the mind is ready to drift toward the secret conversations moving through the air itself, guided by the whispering patterns of wind. Air begins to move long before we ever feel it. Warm air rises, carrying its lightness upward into higher spaces, while cooler, denser air settles toward the ground in slow waves. This simple difference in temperature shapes gentle winds across the planet. These movements are soft, almost shy in the evening hours, as if the atmosphere itself is trying not to disturb the quiet unfolding of the night. Even before a breeze reaches your skin, the sky has already begun its long, delicate dance. Its long, delicate dance continues across landscapes of every shape, fields, forests, rivers and coasts, weaving slow paths through them all. This chapter invites you to drift into that movement, to let yourself be carried by the same soft currents that pass through treetops and skim across lakes. Nothing about wind is forced at this hour. Its rhythm is patient. Its patterns are calm. It simply follows the gentle physics of rising warmth and settling coolness, a cycle as ancient as the turning of the earth. As the sun fades, the ground releases the heat it held during the day. Air closest to the surface cools first, becoming slightly heavier, and this cooler air begins to slide across the landscape like a slow-moving tide. It collects in hollows, drifts down hillsides, and settles into low meadows. Warm air above lifts and spreads while the cool air replaces it below, creating a small, quiet circulation. Even the faintest breeze that touches your cheek at dusk may be the result of these subtle exchanges between warmth and cold. Warmth and cold shift gently, and in that exchange the night shapes its own atmosphere. You may picture grasses swaying in a silver-grey field, their tips bending slightly as a breeze passes through them. Leaves tremble lightly on branches, making a soft pattering sound, like rain that has forgotten its urgency. Somewhere farther away, tall pines lean just enough to whisper. Each movement is small, yet together they form a chorus of quiet motion. Let your breath follow that same gentle sway. Forests hold their own patterns within these winds. Air enters the canopy with a muted sigh, brushing against needles and leaves, breaking into countless small streams as it moves downward. Within this layered world, the breeze travels more slowly, filtered by branches and softened by the density of green. The air feels cooler here, carrying the faint scent of resin and damp bark. It moves with the calm, steady rhythm of breath inside a vast and natural chest. Inside a vast and natural chest, each tree plays a part in shaping the wind. Tall trunks create sheltered spaces behind them. Branches redirect air into spiraling eddies. Even the warmth of the tree's own surface influences movement. As light disappears, these interactions become quieter, more delicate. The wind's voice lowers and blends with the forest itself, becoming not a force but a companion. You can imagine it drifting past your ear with a sound so soft it feels like a memory. In wide open spaces, prairies, plains, meadows, the wind takes on a different character. Without trees to shape it, the air moves in broad sweeping lines. At night, these lines become smoother, calmer, like gentle strokes across the land. Tall grasses ripple under its touch, each blade bending and returning in a rhythm that looks almost like breathing. If you could watch from a distance, the entire field would appear to inhale and exhale under the wind's slow guidance. Under the wind's slow guidance, thoughts can begin to mimic that same rise and fall. You may feel the edges of the day relax, the way grasses loosen under the wind's hand. Let the breeze move through your inner landscape without resistance. Let your mind soften as each breath passes. It is completely all right to let go a little more now. Wind also carries stories, tiny ones hidden in scent and temperature. The faint sweetness of night-blooming flowers may drift along its currents. The earthy coolness from distant soil may settle near your feet. Air from a forest edge smells different from air lifted off a lake. Even small shifts in humidity create sensations you can feel on your skin. These details are gentle reminders that everything in nature is connected by air's quiet motion. Everything in nature is connected by air's quiet motion, and even the smallest breeze can change the way an entire ecosystem behaves. Insects may move differently depending on airflow. Birds ride shifting currents to conserve energy. Seeds with delicate wings or silk threads travel farther at night when winds are smoother and steadier. You may not notice these stories unfolding, but the breeze carries them patiently across the land, weaving them into the fabric of the night. As temperatures drop farther into night, winds often calm even more. This happens because the contrast between warm and cool air weakens. Without strong differences, air stops rushing to fill spaces. Instead, it drifts, it lingers, it moves in patterns that feel more like settling than travelling. The world becomes quieter, not because life has gone, but because movement has softened. The night is full of motion that feels like stillness. Motion that feels like stillness has a soothing effect on your thoughts. You can imagine a quiet breeze brushing past your shoulders, carrying away remnants of tension. Let that imagined wind sweep through you gently, clearing space for rest. You do not need to direct this process. The air is doing what it has always done, adjusting, balancing, easing itself into harmony. You too can ease into harmony. On coastal edges, nighttime winds reveal yet another rhythm. During the day, the land heats faster than the ocean, causing air to rise over the shore and pull cooler air inland. At night, the pattern reverses. The land cools quickly while the ocean stays warm longer, sending air back toward the water in a soft seaward breeze. This back and forth cycle is a kind of breathing. One breath drawn in, one breath released, timed with the rising and setting of the sun. Timed with the rising and setting of the sun. These coastal winds feel especially soothing. They carry the faint salty scent of waves, the soft hiss of water folding onto sand, the distant rhythm of tides. Even if the ocean is far away from you now, the memory of its sounds might drift quietly through your thoughts. Let that imagined scent and sound settle around you like cool mist. The atmosphere also holds patterns above our awareness. High-altitude winds travel vast distances, guiding weather and shaping climates. Though powerful, these winds become gentle metaphors when considered from afar, sweeping arcs connecting continents, flowing endlessly across the blue dome of the planet. They remind us that movement can be continuous without being urgent. The world can stay in motion without rushing. The world can stay in motion without rushing, and the idea can settle warmly inside you. You may have moved quickly today, but now your movement can slow. You can transition into a pace closer to the wind at night, steady, soft, unforced. Breathing in, imagine cool air filling the space around you. Breathing out, picture your tension leaving your body like warmth lifting from the ground at dusk. In forests, this nighttime atmosphere allows creatures to navigate by scent. The air becomes more stable, carrying smells over longer distances. For animals that rely on smell, the night is a time of clarity. Even the faintest trace of a flower, a fruit, or another animal can travel through the calm. This clarity arises not from noise or vigour, but from the quiet steadiness of cool air. The quiet steadiness of cool air mirrors the clarity that comes to your thoughts as they slow. You do not need to reach for solutions or hold on to ideas tightly. They will drift to you gently in time, carried by calmer winds. Let the night hold your thoughts for a while, letting them move naturally without pressure. In some landscapes, gentle breezes come and go in soft pulses. This happens when warm surfaces retain heat longer than their surroundings, creating pockets of rising air even after dark. These small thermals lift and fall, creating faint rhythmic motions that plants and insects respond to. The atmosphere becomes a living pattern, defined by quiet cycles that continue long after daylight has left. The air becomes a soft reminder that rest happens in rhythms, not in one sudden moment. You are entering such a rhythm now. You can feel your body, piece by piece, responding to the invitation. Shoulders drop, muscles ease, breathing deepens. Nothing external forces this change. It happens naturally with the same grace that guides the wind. And somewhere in the upper branches of a tree, a slow, cooling breeze may travel through needles or leaves, making a sound like a long, low sigh. You may hear something like this in your imagination, a soft whisper carried across darkness, moving without urgency. It is a comforting sound, though barely there, as if the earth itself is breathing in and out under the cover of night. Breathing in and out under the cover of night, the world guides you gently toward a quieter place within. There is no rush, no demand, only the soft assurance of natural movement. Let the patterns of wind remind you that balance is often found in what you cannot see. The subtle shifts that support life without drawing attention to themselves. Balance often comes from what you cannot see. And from these invisible rhythms we drift now toward the quiet pulse of water, waiting patiently to share its own calm. Water has a way of moving that is both patient and certain. It does not hurry in the dark hours. It does not force its path. Instead, it follows the simplest laws of gravity and evaporation, settling into cycles that have shaped the earth for millions of years. Even the softest raindrop, the quietest ripple, participates in this ancient rhythm. As night deepens, water becomes a calm storyteller, drifting through the world with a slow and steady pulse, a steady pulse that echoes through valleys and hills. Water's movement begins long before it reaches rivers or rain. Invisible moisture gathers in the air during the day through evaporation, rising into higher, cooler layers of the atmosphere. When temperatures fall at night, that moisture condenses, forming clouds or turning into dew on leaves and grass. It is a cycle that repeats endlessly, carried by sunlight during the day and balanced by darkness at night. Small droplets shift into vapor, and vapor turns back into droplets. Nothing is lost. Everything moves gently from one form to another. From one form to another, water continues its slow transformation across the landscape. Imagine a quiet river at dusk. The surface darkens from bright silver to a deeper grey-blue as the sky loses its colour. The water reflects only the faintest traces of remaining light, shimmering like a soft thread woven through the land. Beneath the surface, currents continue their ancient work, smoothing stones, carrying fine sediments, nourishing the creatures hidden in the shallows. But the movement feels slower now, as if the river too wants to rest. Along the riverbank, the scent of wet soil rises, earthy, cool, and grounding. Leaves flutter gently above the water, releasing their daytime tension. A small breeze travels across the surface, making patterns that look like whispers in liquid form. You can imagine yourself standing quietly beside this river, feeling the steady hum of water against the background of night. In that hum, there is no urgency, only the reassurance that everything moves toward its natural place in time. Everything moves toward its natural place in time, including your own thoughts. They may wander, drifting like small leaves carried on a current. They may circle gently, returning to familiar places before moving on again. You do not need to guide them. The mind can follow the example of the river, flowing naturally without pressure, knowing it will reach calm water eventually. When you feel your thoughts soften like this, let yourself release a deeper breath. Rain, too, becomes different at night. When it falls under darkness, it arrives with a quieter touch. The droplets seem smaller, their sound gentler on roofs and windows. Rain at night is steadier, more rhythmic. Each drop helps the soil settle. Each drop nourishes roots and replenishes streams. Even in the smallest shower you can hear a kind of softness, a delicate tapping that soothes rather than startles. Nature's way of reminding you that release can be slow and subtle. Release can be slow and subtle, and rain offers one of the clearest examples. After a long, warm day, the air may carry moisture that cannot hold itself any longer. As temperatures fall, clouds condense that moisture into droplets. The sky opens gently, letting it fall back to earth. In this motion, rising, cooling, falling, water completes a quiet cycle of giving and receiving. You can place yourself in that cycle as well. With each breath out, you can let go a little more, allowing whatever feels heavy to drift downward with the rain. Wetlands, often unseen at night, pulse with their own soft rhythms. Standing water cools slowly under moonlight. Reeds sway with the faintest breeze. Amphibians wake, moving through mud and shallow pools. These transitions happen silently, guided by changes in temperature and moisture. Wetlands breathe through evaporation, moisture rising off their surfaces in thin, invisible streams. Even this breath slows at night, bringing a sense of rest that settles across the entire ecosystem. A sense of rest settles across the entire ecosystem, mirroring the state your body enters as your pulse begins to slow. Just as wetlands hold water with gentle steadiness, you can hold yourself with gentle steadiness now. There is no need to rush toward deeper sleep. You're simply letting your mind follow the natural gradient toward stillness, the way water follows the slope of the land. In mountain regions, streams behave differently depending on the time of day. During sunlight hours, melting snow and ice may swell their flow, but at night, when temperatures drop, the melting slows. The streams shrink into quieter channels, moving with more softness. Rocks that were submerged a few hours before may now sit exposed under moonlight, their surfaces glistening with cooling water. These changes are subtle, but they transform the entire feel of the landscape. Much like small shifts transform your inner world. A cooler breath, a loosening of your shoulders, a moment where your mind stops reaching outward and begins to drift inward. These are the tiny signals that let you know your internal cycle is changing, moving from alertness to restfulness, from heat to calm, from day to night. These transitions do not need to be forced. They happen naturally when you let them. You might imagine a single raindrop falling into a puddle, sending ripples outward. The water responds instantly yet softly, accepting the drop, spreading the motion, then returning to stillness. This simple event holds the essence of how nature handles change, responding, adapting, settling again. Even the largest rivers are shaped by countless moments just like this, each one small, each one patient, each one small, each one patient, and yet capable of shaping entire valleys over time. Water polishes stone not through force, but through repetition. A pebble becomes smooth after thousands of gentle touches from passing currents. Cliffs are carved not by storms alone, but by the steady persistence of flowing water. These transformations remind you that change does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. It can happen quietly, grain by grain. As the night continues, water in the atmosphere forms dew on surfaces that have cooled more quickly than the air. This dew gathers on leaves, spider webs, blades of grass, and stones. Each droplet holds the world inverted. Tiny reflections of moonlight, starlight, and darkness. This moisture nourishes plants in dry climates and supports small creatures that rely on nighttime condensation for drinking. Dew is one of nature's most delicate gifts, arriving without sound or announcement. These tiny droplets remind you that nourishment often appears quietly, without effort. Just as dew forms naturally when the conditions are right, your body and mind restore themselves during rest when given the space. You do not have to direct your healing. It happens in the background, like dew forming on soft green edges. Rain can take many forms beyond droplets. Mist settles in low areas, creating thin silver layers across fields. Fog drifts like a slow-moving river in the sky, wrapping around trees and hillsides. Drizzle coats the world in a fine shimmer, barely noticeable except for the cool moisture it leaves behind. All of these forms of water share a common gentleness. They do not crash. They arrive. Their presence marks the boundary between air and land, blurring shapes into softer outlines. Mist and fog invite your perception to relax. When details fade, the mind stops trying to grasp every edge. In this softened view, Clarity comes from feeling rather than seeing. You can let yourself lean into that sensation now, the sensation of being enveloped in something quiet and kind. Throughout all of these cycles, water acts as a universal connector. It ties clouds to rivers, rivers to oceans, and oceans to the atmosphere. It travels through soil, roots, leaves, and air. It carries minerals, seeds, warmth, and memory. The pulse of water is the pulse of the earth, steady, ancient, always returning. And at night, that pulse becomes easier to feel, easier to follow, easier to rest within, easier to rest within. This gentle rhythm of water becomes a guide. You may imagine yourself beside a moss-lined stream or under the soft patter of a nighttime shower. You may picture cool droplets forming on grass or slow ripples moving across a still pond. However you imagine water now, let it bring you deeper into calm. Let it show you the way to let go. Let your thoughts drift like rain returning to earth. And from moving water, we drift into forests that breathe in their own quiet way. Forests change their language when the sun goes down. What was bright and busy in daylight becomes layered, low, and slow. The canopy dims into deep shades of green and blue, the understory softens into shadowed patterns, and the forest floor settles into a cool and quiet stillness. Evening does not silence the forest. It simply shifts it into a different rhythm, one shaped by softened light, cooled air, and the gentle rearranging of life. The gentle rearranging of life begins with the trees themselves. In daylight, trees open countless tiny pores on their leaves, stomata, allowing carbon dioxide to enter and oxygen to leave. These exchanges fuel photosynthesis, filling the forest with an invisible, yet constant pulse of energy. But as dusk settles, many trees begin to close those openings. Gas exchange slows, moisture loss decreases, the internal chemistry of the leaf quiets into nighttime rest. Even the largest trees rooted for centuries take part in this daily ritual of pause. In this daily ritual of pause, the forest canopy becomes a wide, soft roof above the world. Branches sway less, their movement shorter and gentler. Needles and leaves settle into patterns shaped by the faintest breeze. From a distance, the canopy might appear motionless, but up close, there are microcurrents of air weaving between leaves, soft as breath, subtle as a whisper. The entire upper forest feels like a calm exhale suspended in time. Lower down, the understory holds its own version of calm. The shrubs and ferns that lived in partial shade all day now find the light almost gone. Their colours deepen, their shapes become silhouettes. Subtle scents rise from the foliage, the earthy freshness of ferns, the warm green aroma of sap-filled stems, the faint sweetness released from leaves that warmed in the sunlight. When the forest cools, these scents drift more slowly, trapped in the thicker nighttime air. Trapped in the thicker nighttime air, those scents mingle with the quiet sounds of the evening forest. A single twig settling under its own weight. A distant rustle caused by a small creature moving carefully between plants. The soft hum of insects tuning themselves to the frequency of night. These sounds are never loud. They create a tapestry of gentle motion, something you could close your eyes and rest against without fear of interruption. Farther down still, the forest floor becomes the quietest layer. The soil cools quickly, releasing a deep grounding scent that rises around roots and fallen leaves. Mosses awaken slightly in this moisture-rich air, their surfaces absorbing droplets that formed as dew. Fallen needles and leaves darken into muted browns and greens. If you knelt here, your fingers would feel the cool softness of the ground, springy, textured, full of life hidden in its smallest forms. Life hidden in its smallest forms continues to work gently even as darkness deepens. Microorganisms in the soil digest bits of fallen wood. Small insects search slowly for food. Roots pull moisture inward. Nothing rushes, every motion is paced. The forest becomes a place of slow, deliberate activity, a world where the night does not bring stillness, but a lowered, steadier pulse. You may feel your own pulse aligning with it now. And in that alignment you might imagine the quiet presence of nocturnal creatures. A deer steps out from behind a cluster of trees, placing its hooves carefully on the ground. Each movement is silent, unhurried, guided by instinct and calm awareness. Its breath clouds faintly in the cool air. Its ears turn toward distant sounds, wind through pine needles, the soft call of an owl, but nothing startles it. The deer is simply part of the night, moving in a way that echoes the forest's softness. Echoing the forest's softness, an owl glides through the canopy, spreading its wings in the dim light. Owl feathers are structured to muffle sound, allowing them to fly almost silently. The night is full of such quiet adaptations. Small miracles shape through ages to blend with stillness. The owl's movement is smooth, a drifting shape through green-black air. When it lands on a branch, the wood barely trembles. The insects continue their low, steady hum. Not the bright, buzzing urgency of daytime hours, but a softer, deeper tone. A background vibration that feels almost like a purr from the forest itself. These nighttime insects play vital roles, pollinating flowers that open only in the dark, feeding nocturnal birds, and helping maintain the balance of life. Their voices thread together, forming a soundscape that lulls the forest into deeper calm. That soundscape lulls the forest, and in turn, it lulls you. The hum is steady, predictable, comforting. It moves through the air like a slow wave, easing tension from your thoughts. If your mind has been holding onto the day, this hum invites it to loosen. Let it be easier now. Let it drift like sound moving through trees. You do not need to hold everything so tightly. As the forest cools further, a fine mist may begin to rise from the ground, moisture lifting into air that can no longer hold heat. This mist does not obscure much. Instead, it enhances the sense of softness, blurring edges and creating small halos of moisture around leaves and branches. Moonlight or starlight, faint as they are, scatter through the mist in pale silver hues. The forest appears to glow from within. The forest appears to glow from within, and this inner light feels peaceful. Even in darkness, nature holds its own form of luminosity, not bright, but gentle. A soft presence that soothes rather than dazzles. It teaches you something without words, that there is beauty in quiet places, in muted tones, in rhythms that slow themselves down. You can follow that teaching now. Let its calm seep into your breath. Trees also share subtle messages during the night. Through their underground networks of fungal threads, the mycorrhizal system, they exchange nutrients and signals, supporting each other in ways humans rarely notice. When a tree is stressed, nearby trees may alter their chemistry in response. This network pulses underneath the forest floor, a communication system as old as forests themselves. It continues through the night, steady and unseen. Steady and unseen, This hidden network reminds you that connection does not always require noise or visibility. There are bonds in nature that hold strong even in darkness. You too are supported by unseen connections, memories, people, experiences, hopes. These networks help you grow, even when you are resting, even when you're quiet. As night deepens fully, the forest enters its most tranquil state. The temperature has settled, the animals have found their paths, the trees stand rooted and calm. A breeze may still move occasionally, brushing against leaves with the softness of a whispered greeting. But most motion has eased, most sounds have softened. The forest feels like a vast breathing room, safe, steady, endlessly patient. Safe, steady, endlessly patient. The forest seems to say that rest is not a pause from life's work, but part of it. Slowness allows growth. Stillness allows restoration. Darkness offers shelter. These truths echo quietly in every corner of the green world, and they can echo within you as well. Feel what it is like to match the forest's pace, slow, even, completely unhurried. You're allowed to mirror that calm. Let the forest's steadiness become your own. From these shaded halls we rise into the vast calm held in the sky above. The sky changes its character when night approaches. What was once expansive and bright becomes muted, layered, and slow. The machinery of the atmosphere keeps moving, but its motions feel gentler, as if the world above you is folding itself into softer shapes. Clouds drift differently. Light bends more quietly. Air cools into calm, steady layers. Everything in the sky seems to settle into a rhythm designed for rest. Designed for rest, too, is the way clouds form. A small yet grounding truth begins this shift into the sky's perspective. Clouds appear when water vapor gathers around microscopic particles, dust, salt, pollen, creating droplets so small they remain suspended in air. There's nothing forceful in this process. Vapor cools, droplets gather, light fades. It is a quiet collaboration between moisture and atmosphere, happening thousands of times over your head without a sound. Without a sound, these droplets merge into familiar shapes. During the day, clouds may tower high or stretch across the sky in sharp, bright forms. But as evening approaches, their edges soften. The contrast between cloud and air fades into gentle gradients of grey, blue, and lavender. The sky becomes a canvas washed in calm colours, blending seamlessly as if the world is exhaling after holding itself upright for hours. As the world exhales, twilight begins its slow transformation. Sunlight passes through thicker layers of the atmosphere, scattering shorter wavelengths of light. The bright blues dissolve into deeper tones. Warm hues glow for a moment near the horizon, then sink into memory as the sky dims. This daily dimming helps plants cool, animals prepare for rest, and your own senses shift toward stillness. The air feels different in twilight, softer, cooler, touched by the faint scent of evening moisture. Touched by evening moisture, the thin clouds at higher altitudes take on a pale silver sheen. They catch the final traces of sunlight and release them slowly, glowing for moments longer than the horizon itself. These high clouds, made of tiny ice crystals, refract light in delicate ways. Sometimes they create halos around the moon, soft circles that seem almost too gentle to be real. Other times they scatter light into subtle arcs or faint glimmers that move across the sky. It is in these faint glimmers where the sky begins to feel like a living presence. Even with such quiet movement, the atmosphere is always adjusting, cooling at the surface, warming slightly above, creating layers that glide past one another in slow, wide motions. Winds in the upper sky shift almost silently, carrying thin strands of cloud across vast distances. You might look up and notice barely any change, yet the entire ceiling of the world is moving steadily overhead. Moving steadily overhead, the clouds begin to reveal their nighttime shapes. Stratified layers settle into smooth blankets of grey. Wisps of cirrus drift apart like threads of silk. Sometimes a single long stretch of cloud glows faintly in moonlight, forming a calm line across the sky. These forms do not demand your attention, they simply exist in their softness, asking nothing from you except presence. Presence becomes easier when the air cools. As nighttime descends, warm air rises upward and cooler air flows in to replace it. This creates gentle breezes, the evening winds that brush across your skin in soft, steady breaths. These winds are more modest than daytime gusts. They do not rush through branches or lift dust from the ground. Instead, they move with deliberate care, distributing the cooling air that helps landscapes settle into darkness. Helping landscapes settle, these breezes carry subtle scents through the night. Damp soil, pine resin, the sweetness of night-blooming flowers, faint hints of rainfall from distant clouds. Air becomes a messenger of sensory memory, reminding you of quiet places you've known, moments when the world felt gentle. Moments when you felt held by something larger than yourself. You may feel something similar now, a soft lowering of your own pace. The sky's unhurried motion invites you to loosen your thoughts, to let them wander slowly, like drifting clouds that reshape themselves without effort. If your mind begins to move too quickly, you can follow the sky's example. Spread your awareness wide. Allow each thought to pass through, thin and soft as mist. Thin and soft as mist, clouds in the lower atmosphere begin forming differently in nighttime conditions. As air near the ground cools faster than the layers above it, moisture condenses into fog. This fog can settle over fields, wrap itself around hills, or drift between trees. It blurs outlines, softens harsh edges, and turns familiar landscapes into dreamlike shapes. Even sound changes in fog. Voices, steps, and breezes become muted, as if every noise is cushioned by a layer of gentle air. Fog cushions the world in a way that feels protective. It doesn't obscure, it shields. It offers a kind of sensory quiet that encourages inner quiet. The mind finds fewer details to cling to, fewer lines to follow. In this softness, your breath can become slower. Your body can settle more deeply. Fog teaches that clarity is not always about seeing every edge sharply. Sometimes clarity comes from allowing the world to blur. Not all clouds rest so close to the earth. Higher up, noctilucent clouds may appear, rare formations glowing with pale blue light long after the sun has set. These clouds sit at the edge of space, illuminated by sunlight that no longer reaches the ground. Their glow is subtle. They ripple gently across the sky, shifting in patterns shaped by atmospheric tides. Seeing them is like watching the upper atmosphere dream. Watching the upper atmosphere dream reminds you that the world is layered with processes beyond your sight. Atmospheric currents move like slow rivers. Pressure gradients drift across continents. Stars twinkle through shifting pockets of air. The sky is a living system, even when it appears still, and in its vastness you may sense a comforting truth that there is room for everything to move at its own pace, even your thoughts. A reassurance arises naturally here. Let your breath move as slowly as rising mist. Mist rising from rivers or grasses gradually cools the air around it. The ground releases the heat it gathered during the day, and the sky accepts this warmth with gentle transitions. These exchanges create layers of calm, cooler air hugging the earth, warmer air floating quietly above. The atmosphere's balance shifts toward rest, adjusting without effort. Adjusting without effort, the sky becomes a teacher in letting go. Light fades, clouds loosen, temperatures fall. Every part of the atmosphere participates in this shift, turning the ceiling of the world into something soft and enveloping. When you look upward into nighttime clouds, smooth, dim, and unhurried, you may feel a matching quiet unfold inside you. Moonlight joins this quiet. Unlike sunlight, which shines with sharp clarity, moonlight arrives in diffuse, tender tones. Its brightness filters through clouds gently, creating pale washes of silver or muted halos. Sometimes it glows through thin cloud layers like a soft lantern behind a curtain. Sometimes it brightens small patches of sky while leaving others dark. Its presence feels calming, steady, rhythmic. Steady and rhythmic, this moonlit sky mirrors the calm you are entering. Clouds drift. Light softens. Air cools. The sky moves through its own rituals of rest, reminding every creature below that cycles of quiet are part of the natural order. You do not need to solve anything right now. You only need to breathe within this shared stillness. Even the stars participate in this softness. Though they are fixed in their distant places, they appear to shimmer because of movements in the air. Atmospheric waves bend their light gently, making them flicker as if they are breathing. This subtle motion connects the deepest parts of the cosmos to the thin layers of air above you. Everything reflects everything else, even in quiet ways. Everything reflects everything else, and the sky holds those reflections tenderly. Light, moisture, temperature, wind. Each plays a role in shaping what you see above you tonight. Their interactions form a network of gentle machinery, working without pause yet moving at a pace that soothes rather than overwhelms. As these layers settle into perfect nighttime balance, the sky becomes a vast sanctuary, a place where motion feels slow, where colour folds inward, where clouds move with dreamlike certainty. In this sanctuary you may feel yourself soften too. The atmosphere offers a silent invitation. Allow yourself to drift. Allow your thoughts to thin into quiet shapes. Allow your breath to match the easy rhythm of the night. Let your breath move as slowly as rising mist. From the sky's hush, we drift into the resilient world of plants that wait for dawn. When the sky settles into its darker shades, the plants of the earth respond with their own quiet rituals of rest. What appears still is not truly still. What appears silent is full of soft internal movement. Leaves shift their chemistry, stems adjust their balance, petals loosen or fold. Every plant enters a rhythm shaped by darkness, shaped by the cool breath of the night. Shaped by the cool breath of the night is the first truth of plant rest. Many species slow their transpiration once daylight fades. During the day, plants release moisture through tiny pores in their leaves, exchanging gases to fuel photosynthesis. At night, these pores often close, conserving water and easing the energy demands placed on each leaf. This shift happens quietly, without fanfare, like a long inhale held in gentle patience. Held in gentle patience, the leaves themselves become soft canvases for darkness. Some leaves fold slightly inward, closing themselves to nighttime air. Others relax outward, releasing the tension they held under the weight of sunlight. Certain flowers perform small movements each evening, closing petals for protection, lowering themselves to avoid moisture loss, or turning subtly toward the faint light of the moon. These changes are so slow you would never notice them unless you spent hours watching, breathing with their rhythm. Breathing with their rhythm, you can imagine the dew forming across their surfaces. As nighttime cools the air, moisture condenses on leaves and petals, gathering into droplets that shimmer faintly in the low light. Dew offers plants a quiet source of hydration. Especially in dry landscapes, these droplets cling gently to textures, smooth leaf veins, soft petal edges, fine hairs along stems, transforming each plant into a small constellation of reflected silver. Constellations of reflected silver glow softly in gardens and meadows before dawn. Some plants evolve specifically to use dew as a supplemental drink. Desert plants, for instance, have surfaces designed to pull moisture inward from the air, allowing them to survive long stretches without rain. Their waxy coatings, small hairs, and specialized pores help trap precious moisture that settles onto them each night. In the cool hours, these plants rest more effectively than during the heat of day, saving their strength for sunrise. Saving their strength for sunrise is a universal theme in the plant world. Flowers that release their scents primarily at night, such as jasmine or certain orchids, do so because nighttime pollinators respond more readily to fragrance than color. In the still air of darkness, scent molecules drift farther and linger longer. A night-blooming flower may open only once the sun disappears, its petals releasing a perfume into the cool air that guides moths and other nocturnal species to its nectar. These scents are gentle but enchanting, adding another layer of quiet magic to the night. Quiet magic can also be found in the deep greens of leaves resting in darkness. During the day, chlorophyll absorbs sunlight, creating energy and fueling growth. At night, the energy stored in plant tissues is redistributed, supporting repair and new cell formation. This internal process is almost like a plant dreaming, reorganizing its resources, healing sunlight's tiny stresses, and strengthening itself for the next morning. Strengthening itself for the next morning, a plant becomes an example of resilience shaped not by persistent action, but by its willingness to rest. Many plants reduce their internal temperatures during the night, protecting delicate structures from stress. Others allow water to shift through their tissues, redistributing nutrients in slow patterns. Even roots adjust their growth based on nighttime humidity. All of these processes move in soft, measured rhythms. You may feel invited to match those rhythms now. If your thoughts have been branching outward all day, exploring too many directions at once, the plant world reminds you that you can fold those branches inward. You can conserve your own energy. You can slow your internal pace until it feels steady and warm. A reassurance arrives naturally here. You can loosen yourself the way petals loosen under darkness. The way petals loosen under darkness becomes a metaphor for release. Evening flowers unfurl with no audience, opening into a world quiet enough to receive them. Their colors may appear muted, but their structures are fully alive. They do not require brightness to express beauty. Instead, their elegance reveals itself in shape, in scent, in their delicate presence among shadows. Night-blooming flowers remind us that not all flourishing happens in the light. Not all flourishing happens in the light, and nighttime plants show how subtly life adapts to cycles. Desert succulents absorb carbon dioxide at night rather than during the day, reducing water loss in scorching climates. This nighttime metabolism, known as CAM photosynthesis, allows them to thrive where most plants struggle. They wait patiently for darkness to begin their work, exchanging gases when the air is cool enough to protect them from dehydration. Their survival depends on this quiet strategy. Survival shaped by quiet strategy also defines alpine plants resting through cold nights at high elevations. These plants store heat in their tissues during the day and release it slowly after sunset, preventing frost damage. Some curl their leaves inward to protect their centers from chill winds. Others grow close to the ground in cushion-like shapes, minimizing exposure. Their adaptations are subtle yet effective, formed through ages of listening to the mountain's breath. Listening to the mountain's breath leads you deeper into the idea of plants as sensory beings. While they do not hear or see as animals do, plants perceive light, touch, temperature, and even chemical messages from neighbors. At night, when outside stimulation quiets, plants rely more heavily on these subtle signals. They communicate through shared chemical pathways, warning one another of pests or adjusting growth based on moisture levels in the soil. Their networks, though invisible, are intricate and wise. Intricate and wise, these networks continue to pulse beneath the Earth's surface. Roots move slowly through soil, following gradients of water and nutrients. Fungal threads connect root systems, forming webs of shared resources. When one plant struggles, others may assist by transferring water or sugars through these threads. Night enhances these exchanges as reduced above-ground activity frees energy for underground communication. Underground communication shapes the stability of entire ecosystems. In forests, grasses, wetlands, and deserts, the root networks work tirelessly, yet gently, to support collective health. This collaboration is not rushed. It unfolds in patient steps. You may sense a similar steadiness settling into your own thoughts, a willingness to let things grow slowly, naturally, without the pressure of daylight urgency. Nighttime also brings a change in plant colours, though not one visible to the human eye. Many plants shift their reflective qualities under moonlight, absorbing and releasing wavelengths differently than they do in the sun. Insects with ultraviolet vision perceive these shifts clearly, navigating toward flowers that glow faintly with reflected patterns. Even in darkness, plants offer guidance to the creatures that rely on them. Plants offer guidance in another way too, through their physical presence. A grove of trees standing still under a star-filled sky creates a feeling of shelter. A field of tall grasses swaying in a faint breeze offers quiet motion to watch. A garden resting before dawn provides a sense of calm, as if every leaf has paused just long enough for you to catch your breath. Plant life grounds the world. Their roots anchor it. Their stillness reassures it. You can feel grounded in the same way. The night does not demand anything from you. Like a plant conserving its energy, you can allow yourself to do less. You can find nourishment in small, steady breaths, in stillness, in the cool calm that darkness offers. You can let your inner world soften, releasing what no longer needs to be held. Let your thoughts soften the way petals soften under dew. Restoration begins in these quiet moments, and from these patient leaves we wander into the animal world, settling into night. As the world eases into darkness, the animals who share this quiet earth begin their nightly shift into gentler rhythms. What seems like a still landscape is layered with soft movements, slow breaths, and hearts that settle into calmer patterns. The transition into night is not a sudden drop into silence, but a gradual folding of energy, a collective exhale stretching across forests, fields, oceans and hidden burrows beneath the soil. Beneath the soil, small mammals move softly into their shelters. A subtle scientific truth anchors the moment. Many mammals lower their heart rate at night, conserving energy and easing their bodies into rest. Inside their burrows, mice and voles curl into warm circles, paws tucked, whiskers settling. Their breathing slows to a gentle rise and fall, matching the temperature drop above them. Burrows hold a steady warmth, the scent of dry earth lingering in the air, and these small creatures let the night cradle them in safety. Cradle them in safety. That safety is echoed in the rustle of leaves as larger animals find their own places of rest. Deer step with quiet deliberateness, choosing clearings where they can listen for the faintest shift of wind. Their muscles relax once they settle, ears still alert but bodies softened, ready to drift into light sleep. The stillness around them is not empty. It is filled with low, steady sounds that never rise beyond a whisper, a breeze through the trees, the hush of grass bending under weight, the muted thrum of insects adjusting their rhythm beneath layers of darkness. Layers of darkness also settle over birds perched on branches above. With daylight gone, they fluff their feathers to trap warmth, creating small pockets of air that insulate them through the night. This simple motion lowers their energy use, allowing them to rest more thoroughly. Some birds tuck their heads backward into the soft feathers between their wings, forming a shape so compact it looks almost like a closed flower. The forest around them settles into a muted green-black glow, and their small hearts beat in steady, rested patterns. Steady, rested patterns guide creatures of the sea too. In the ocean, where sunlight fades into layers of blue and indigo, countless animals begin the world's largest migration, a slow upward drift toward the surface. Tiny plankton rise first, followed by the fish that feed on them, creating a vertical movement repeated every single night. A scientific truth drifts forward here. This nightly migration is the largest synchronized movement of life on Earth. But in the quiet of night, it feels less like a statistic and more like a shared breath rising through water. Rising through water, the silhouettes of jellyfish pulse slowly, their bodies glowing with gentle hues of pink or blue. They drift through currents, trailing soft ribbons that catch the faintest shimmer of moonlight passing through waves above. Every movement appears weightless, every pulse appears calm. A listener might imagine themselves drifting alongside them, buoyed by water that feels cool and safe. Here reassurance settles naturally. Let your heartbeat follow the same unhurried rhythm. The same unhurried rhythm touches nocturnal animals who emerge only when darkness wraps the world. Owls glide through forests with wings shaped to silence their flight, feathers designed to muffle sound. They move like thoughts drifting at the edge of awareness, neither rushing nor lingering too long. Their eyes reflect faint light, turning the forest into a tapestry of shadow and possibility. Their calls, when they come, are low and rounded, echoing gently without sharp edges. Without sharp edges, nighttime becomes a friend to foxes slipping through meadows. Their paws land softly on the cool earth, noses lifting to trace the scents carried by slow-moving breezes. The world at night is a world of pathways made from smell rather than sight. Foxes follow these invisible threads with quiet certainty, aware of every shift in the air. When they rest, they curl into a soft coil, tails wrapped around their bodies like warm protective blankets. Their breath moves in slow waves. The night holds them. The night holds them, and it holds the insects whose soft hum forms the backdrop of darkness. Crickets begin their nighttime songs by rubbing their wings together, but even their music follows a pattern shaped by temperature. As the air cools, the rhythm of their chirping slows, matching the descent of the night. Fireflies rise as small points of gold, blinking in patient patterns, each flash a tiny signal between creatures drifting through warm summer air. Their glow feels like a reminder that even delicate things have their own quiet strength. Quiet strength is also found underwater, where countless fish reduce their movement at night. Some hover motionless near coral reefs, their fins barely moving. Others hide within sheltered rocks or along sandy bottoms. Their eyes close if they have eyelids, or cloud over with protective membranes. Reef ecosystems soften into slower patterns, illuminated by bioluminescent flashes from plankton drifting on currents. Everything moves at half speed, offering the sea a chance to rest. Offering the sea a chance to rest mirrors the way larger mammals settle across different landscapes. Bears slow their nighttime roaming unless they are preparing for winter. Wolves, though active, communicate in tones that blend with the wind, long rising howls that echo without hurry. Bats hang upside down in warm clusters, bodies slowing, wings tucked close. Their rest is deep, protected by the darkness of the caves or trees they inhabit. Inhabit the darkness long enough, and you begin to understand that animals do not fear the night. They participate in it. For many creatures, night offers safety from heat, predators, and energy loss. The natural world is built upon rhythms deeper than sunlight alone. Even diurnal animals, those active during the day, shift into softer patterns after dusk. Their senses adjust, their bodies release tension, their internal clocks guide them gently towards sleep. Gently towards sleep moves the entire landscape. Imagine a hillside where rabbits rest in hidden hollows, a coastline where seals lie in loose groups upon cool sand, or a savanna where giraffes fold their long legs beneath them for short, peaceful rests. The world does not sleep all at once, yet each creature finds its own place within the tapestry of calm. Every heart finds a slower rhythm, every breath becomes part of the shared night. And now you may feel a similar pattern settling within you, an internal quiet shaped not by effort, but by easing. The animal world reminds you that rest is not something to achieve, it is something to allow. A gentle truth floats at the end of this chapter, warm and steady. Quietness is an instinct shared across life. From resting creatures, we drift toward landscapes shaped by night itself. When night settles across the world, landscapes shift into forms that daylight never fully reveals. What seems solid and unchanging begins to soften at the edges. Temperatures fall, air moves differently, and moisture gathers in patterns shaped by the cool breath of darkness. The world becomes gentler, the land exhales. The quiet of night is not merely the absence of sound, it is a transformation felt across rocks, soil, oceans, and open plains. Across rocks, soil, oceans, and open plains moves a subtle scientific truth. Nighttime cooling reshapes the surface of the earth. Every rock, no matter how massive, contracts slightly when temperatures drop. Every grain of sand settles more deeply into its resting place. Valleys fill with denser air. while hills release the warmth they held during the day. These shifts are invisible to the eye but felt in the slowed patterns of the natural world. Felt in the slowed patterns of the natural world is the desert settling into stillness. When the sun disappears, dunes lose heat rapidly. The sand cools, releasing the shimmer it held from long hours beneath the sun. The desert becomes quieter, almost hushed. Winds soften into low breezes that carve gentle curves along the dune tops. A faint, warm scent rises from the sand, carrying hints of minerals and dry earth. In this softened light, dunes resemble waves frozen in time. Calm, sweeping shapes resting beneath a sky laced with stars. Resting beneath a sky laced with stars, mountain landscapes undergo their own nightly shift. High-altitude air cools quickly, becoming clear and thin. Peaks emerge in sharp silhouettes, while valleys fill with layers of mist. The rocks on these slopes release the heat they stored, creating subtle thermal currents that drift upward toward open sky. These invisible currents guide nocturnal birds and lift faint scents from alpine meadows, carrying them far into the cool night. Cool night shaping the mountains also shapes the forest below. Moisture condenses on needles and leaves, forming beads of water that shimmer faintly when moonlight touches them. The forest floor grows damp and aromatic, releasing scents of moss, soil, and quiet growth. Trees stand as tall silhouettes, dark, steady guardians of the night. Their branches barely move unless a gentle wind passes through, creating a soft whispering sound like a slow conversation between leaves. A slow conversation between leaves happens when nighttime breezes drift through coastal landscapes. Along the shoreline, tides continue their ancient rhythm, moving with the moon's pull. Night adds a layer of softness to the sea's steady motion. Waves roll with a deeper calm, their edges glowing faintly with bioluminescent flashes. Tiny organisms light up when disturbed by moving water, creating brief trails of cool blue light. This shimmering glow is not bright. It is a quiet, gentle pulse beneath the surface, a reminder that even in darkness, life continues to shine in subtle ways. Life continues to shine in subtle ways on grasslands as well. As the air cools, broad fields release the day's warmth in gentle waves. Grass blades sway under the weight of settling dew, bending just slightly in the night breeze. In this darkness, the landscape becomes a wide, soft expanse of muted motion. The sounds are low, a distant insect hum, a faint rustle of fur as animals settle, the quiet shift of air above open earth. Grasslands at night feel like that moment just before sleep, when everything is still but alive with unspoken calm. Unspoken calm reaches wetlands, where nighttime brings a deep sense of balance. Water surfaces smooth into glassy reflections of the moon. Frogs create low, rhythmic calls that echo gently across reeds. Moisture rises from shallow pools, carrying the cool scent of water plants and damp soil. The boundaries between land and water blur, forming a landscape shaped by softness. Even the small ripples caused by drifting insects look slower at night, their movement softened by darkness. Darkness softens rocky coastlines too. The heat stored in cliffs begins to radiate upward, mixing with cooler ocean air. This difference creates small, gentle winds known as land breezes, the opposite of the daytime sea breeze. These winds slide toward the water in smooth, calm flows, bringing with them the earthy scent of stone and dried seaweed. The ocean accepts these winds with steady motion, folding them into its own breathing rhythm. Its own breathing rhythm is present in caves as well, though mostly unseen. At night, cool air sinks into caverns, pushing warmer air outward through narrow openings. These movements are slow, like inhalations and exhalations shared between rock and atmosphere. Cave walls shift in temperature by just a few degrees, but this is enough to create flows of air that have existed for centuries. In such places, time feels like a slow-moving tide, patient, steady, unchanging. Unchanging too is the nightly pattern of dew spreading across open fields. Moisture that rose invisibly during the day returns to the earth, settling on stones, grasses, and petals. These droplets catch moonlight in quiet glints, like tiny lanterns resting on the ground. Dew nourishes delicate surfaces, especially in regions where rainfall is rare. Its presence is both practical and poetic, a reminder that even in the absence of storms, the night offers its own gentle form of water. The night offers its own gentle form of reshaping, and this includes the soil itself. In darkness, soil organisms become more active. Earthworms rise closer to the surface where the air is cooler. Microbes adjust their metabolism, breaking down organic matter that fuels plant life. Fungi extend delicate threads through damp soil, expanding their networks in near silence. These unseen processes support entire ecosystems, the result of countless tiny movements working together through the long hours of night. Through the long hours of night, the air in valleys becomes particularly calm. Cooler air sinks downward, collecting in low places and forming stable layers. This creates temperature inversions, moments when the coldest air lies closest to the earth. In these inversions, sound travels differently. Voices carry farther. Animal calls echo in slow, rounded tones. Even the quietest footsteps seem more distinct. The land listens. The air holds every sound gently. The air holds every sound gently because nighttime landscapes reshape themselves, not with speed, but with patience. Deserts settle into silence. Mountains release their warmth. Coasts glow with hidden light. Forests breathe moisture into the air. Wetlands hum with steady calls. Grasslands become wide blankets of stillness. All these shifts mirror the slow, unhurried patterns of rest found across nature. You may begin to feel these patterns within yourself. Just as landscapes cool and change shape, your thoughts can settle into softer forms. Your breath can move in slow waves, like tides illuminated by moonlight. Your body can find its own gentle balance. A reassurance settles here in quiet simplicity. Let the night reshape your thoughts as gently as it reshapes the land. Change moves slowly, but always toward balance. And from these shifting landscapes, we drift into the deep rhythms that connect all life. Harmony in nature is rarely loud. It does not announce itself with dramatic movement or bright colour. Instead, it hums beneath the surface of things, a quiet choreography of relationships, patterns, and exchanges that bind ecosystems together. As night deepens, these harmonies become easier to sense. With less noise, less heat, and fewer distractions, the subtle connections between living systems rise into gentle focus. Rise into gentle focus does a simple scientific truth. Every ecosystem on Earth relies on feedback loops, cycles in which energy, nutrients, water, and life continuously influence one another. These loops do not rush. They do not break their own pace. They form a slow, steady conversation across landscapes, oceans, soil, and sky. This interconnectedness shapes everything from the smallest leaf to the broadest horizon, threading a quiet harmony through the natural world. Threading a quiet harmony through the natural world begins with forests. trees influence far more than their own shade and soil. When forests release water vapor through their leaves, this moisture rises into the air, contributing to cloud formation. These clouds cool the land, reflect sunlight, and return moisture as rain. In this way, forests help create their own weather, participating in a cycle that sustains entire regions. Even at night, when transpiration slows, this stored moisture lingers above the canopy, forming a soft halo of humidity that nourishes nearby life. Nourishing nearby life also happens underground, where root systems and soil organisms connect in intricate webs. Fungi extend long, delicate threads called hyphae that link the roots of different plants together. Through these networks, nutrients and chemical messages travel between species. A tree in need of phosphorus may receive it from a neighbour. A plant detecting a pest may warn others through shared pathways. These connections exist in near silence, forming an underground language too slow and subtle for human senses, yet vital to the balance of ecosystems. Vital to the balance of ecosystems is the relationship between oceans and climate. The ocean absorbs vast amounts of heat each day, storing it beneath the surface. At night, cooler air layers form above the water, allowing heat to rise slowly and influence atmospheric patterns. Ocean currents, vast steady rivers within the sea, carry warmth across the planet, shaping wind, rainfall, and seasonal rhythms. This movement feels expansive yet gentle, like deep breathing spread across thousands of miles. Spread across thousands of miles, nutrient cycles also connect distant places in surprising ways. Leaves that fall in autumn become food for soil microbes. Those microbes enrich the earth, helping plants grow. The plants feed herbivores. Herbivores feed predators. When these animals eventually return to the soil through natural processes, their nutrients begin the journey again. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes part of something else. This cycling is slow, patient, and endlessly renewing. Endlessly renewing is also the movement of water across landscapes. As rivers flow toward the sea, they carry minerals from mountains to coastlines. These minerals feed microscopic organisms that form the base of marine ecosystems. Some of these organisms release compounds into the air that help form clouds. Those clouds drift inland, releasing rain that nourishes forests and grasslands. Water becomes a messenger connecting land to ocean, sky to soil, one system to another, all through its quiet, steady journey. Its quiet, steady journey mirrors the unseen transfer of signals between plants and animals. Flowers release scents that attract pollinators. Trees produce chemicals that deter herbivores. Soil bacteria generate compounds that encourage root growth. These signals drift through air and earth like soft notes in an unending song. Even nighttime pollinators, moths, beetles, small nocturnal bees, follow these cues, maintaining cycles of reproduction that sustain entire ecosystems. Sustain entire ecosystems is also the role of decomposers. Fungi, worms, beetles, and microbes that break down fallen leaves, old wood, and decaying matter. Their work may seem humble, yet without them forests would drown in their own debris. At night, many decomposers become more active. Cooler temperatures and higher humidity create perfect conditions for their slow, essential work. They transform what once lived into rich soil capable of supporting new life. New life emerges because harmony does not depend on perfection. It depends on constant, gentle adjustment. When one species becomes too abundant, predators respond, restoring balance. When a drought stresses plants, their seeds may lie dormant until conditions improve. When storms reshape coastlines, new habitats appear for birds and crustaceans. Nature does not resist change. It adapts, folding new patterns into old rhythms. Folding new patterns into old rhythms is especially clear in the relationships shared between animals and plants. Bees pollinate flowers in exchange for nectar. Birds disperse seeds as they fly. Grazing animals stimulate fresh plant growth. Each exchange ripples outward through the environment, shaping everything from soil health to climate. No creature lives in isolation. Every action becomes part of a wider tapestry. A wider tapestry appears again in the sky. Clouds formed by forest moisture drift far beyond the trees that created them. Air warmed by desert sands influences storms across oceans. Chemical signals from plankton drift into the atmosphere, helping shape weather patterns. Everything touches everything else, however gently. The world does not operate in separate parts. It exists as a whole, a single breathing system moving through cycles older than memory. Older than memory are the tiny harmonies that happen between the smallest creatures. Microbes in the soil communicate through chemical messages. Ants follow invisible scent trails laid by their colony. Lichens, partnerships between fungi and algae, thrive on rocks where little else can grow. These small collaborations form the foundation upon which complex ecosystems rest. Their work may be invisible, but their influence is immense. Yet their presence is quiet. In the stillness of night, these harmonies feel more noticeable. When sound settles and light softens, you may sense how deeply nature is connected. Every breath of wind, every shift of water, every movement of an animal participates in a larger rhythm. When you slow your thoughts, you can feel yourself becoming part of that rhythm too, a gentle thread woven into a greater calm. A reassurance arrives softly here. You can lean into this quiet pattern. It holds you too. Harmony is not perfection. It is balance created through continual adjustment, through countless small actions working together. It is the patient dance of ecosystems across years, centuries, and millennia. It is the way the earth finds its center again and again, even after storms, droughts, or upheaval. Harmony is a commitment to steadiness, a promise that cycles will continue, a reminder that everything moves toward equilibrium, whether quickly or slowly. As you breathe into this idea, you may feel your own inner world shifting toward balance, not by force, but by allowing. Harmony is not perfection, but constant, gentle adjustment. With these harmonies surrounding us, we rise toward our final moment of rest together. You've travelled through silence and science tonight, drifting through winds, waters, forests, skies, and the soft rhythms that tie living things together. Each step through the natural world has moved at an unhurried pace, easing you toward deeper calm. Now the path bends gently back to you, to the quiet place where your own breath joins the larger rhythm of the earth. The night folds softly around you, like a landscape settling into its cool, familiar shape. Nothing asks for your attention now. Nothing hurries. Everything simply drifts into ease. Do the memories of this journey. The soft winds that shape the world's patterns become a reminder of how even the lightest currents can guide us gently. You may imagine that breeze brushing against your thoughts, smoothing their edges, letting them fall wherever they feel most comfortable. Rivers return as well, flowing slowly through your mind with patience that never demands, only offers. Their steady movement mirrors your own internal tide, rising, falling, settling. Settling also are the forest that breathed in green quiet each night. Their tall trunks, their hushed understories, their moss-scented floors form a sheltering space within you. Here, your thoughts can lean against something steady. Your breath can match the slow rhythm of trees resting beneath stars. The lessons of the forest linger. That growth continues even in darkness. That stillness has its own form of strength. That rest is not a pause, but a quiet continuation. A quiet continuation also comes from the skies above, where clouds drift in soft layers and light dissolves into gentle forms. Those muted patterns remind you that clarity does not always come in brightness. Sometimes it arrives through softened edges, through the calm blurring of boundaries. You may feel that same blurring within yourself, the separation between thought and breath, between tension and release, growing smaller with each passing moment. With each passing moment, the animal world returns, creatures slowing their hearts, folding into rest, becoming part of the great nightly calm. Their rhythms echo your own. Their ease reminds you that rest is instinctive, shared across species, woven into the fabric of life itself. There is comfort in knowing that every being finds its way to stillness when darkness settles. The world quiets not from emptiness but from unity, a collective exhale that spans land, sea and sky. Spans land, sea and sky too does the shifting of landscapes shaped by darkness. Deserts cooling into silence, mountains releasing their warmth, coasts glowing with gentle tides. All these patterns offer ways to soften. You might feel the warmth of a day leaving your body slowly, like heat rising from sun-touched stone. You might sense the cool clarity of night settling into your thoughts, the way air settles into valleys. You might imagine your inner world reshaping with the same patience the earth carries. The same patience the earth carries is the patience found in harmony, the quiet exchange between plants and animals, wind and water, soil and sky. Nothing in nature rests alone. Everything drifts within a wider network, balanced not by perfection, but by gentle adjustment. As you lie here, you are part of that balance. You are part of that soft, steady rhythm. You are allowed to rest within it. You are welcome here. A reassurance settles lightly now, as tender as dew gathering on a leaf. If you're still awake, your body already remembers how to rest. There is nothing left to hold, nothing left to solve. Every breath brings you deeper into your own quiet space, where thoughts dissolve like mist rising from cool earth. You can let go of the day as naturally as petals fold beneath the night. Beneath the night, gratitude spreads gently through these final breaths of the story. Thank you for drifting through these quiet harmonies, for sharing this stillness, for letting the rhythms of nature guide you toward peace. The world around you is resting, and you can rest with it. There is a softness waiting for you in the dark, a calm shaped by every moment that led you here. Let it hold you, let it ease you, let it carry you towards sleep. Rest is part of the world's oldest rhythm. Good night.